Previously on PsyPoints main office.
Oh God! Moving on. Send me to Canada! I'll get her a new one. Wow! Wow! Wow!
So yeah, faking a mental disorder on TikTok is a trend now, and I am utterly disgusted by it. Like, it's bad enough I'm making a video on TikTok, but then they had to make it worse by becoming a giant mental health controversy. So today, aside from explaining why out of all of the current TikTok trends, this is one of the worst, I want to talk about why this may happen in our society and ultimately its consequences over time. Welcome to PsyPop. In this series, we'll be tackling how pop culture or something in pop culture has displayed the phenomenon where we can learn from it in the context of psychology and mental health. If you like this series and don't want to miss out on future episodes, don't forget to show us support by liking and subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click on the bell icon to get a new notification whenever we post a new video. Before we continue, by the way, I just want to make a quick disclaimer that there's nothing wrong with influencers who have or share their experiences with mental health issues online. I myself have been open about my own experiences after all in one of our previous videos. For today's criticism, it's mainly going to be directed at all those who pretend they're going through similar mental health issues for clout and disrespect those who are going through real struggles as a result. Since the start of the pandemic, health-related content has been growing in popularity. There's a therapeutic feeling of forming a community with others who are going through similar struggles. In October of last year, TikTok acknowledged the influx of new creators by introducing its network of wellness warriors. In April 2021, it launched its hashtag Wellness Hub, which is a space for users to connect and discover lifestyle and health tips. This was also the perfect space for influencers to show and talk about the daily struggles each of them went through, whether it be physical or, in this case, the mental. To quote TikTok user and self-proclaimed mental health advocate Max Selwood, TikTok is like a form of therapy. If I just speak about my mental health to as many people as possible, it feels less scary. As health-related content surged and its most popular creators quickly reached influencer status, PsyPoints will grow to that point one day. We will make sure of that. But until then, hi to my consistent 10 to 40 viewers out there. We thank you for the support. Up until now, you're amazing. An insidious trend rose soon after with those who appropriate illness for clout on the app, using these features to stand out as quirky or unique to garner audiences despite not having these orders, presenting them in an accurate way, or knowing anything about these disorders. Ironically enough though, the faking of disorders does have an official diagnosis called Munchausen Syndrome. Formerly known as factitious disorder, it's a diagnosis assigned to individuals who falsify illness in themselves or in another person without any obvious gain from it. Possible signs that the patient may be experiencing Munchausen syndrome is when they firstly have an inconsistent medical history and predictable patterns of relapses after periods of improvement. Another notable sign is that the patient usually displays dramatic or convincing symptoms only when other people are present or witnessing. And lastly, when the patient seems reluctant for the doctor to discuss their illnesses with their family and past doctors they consulted with. The story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard is quite a famous case of Munchausen Syndrome and perfectly encapsulates the dangers of these types of actions. In this case, it was Munchausen Syndrome by proxy, which is when a person acts as if an individual he or she is caring for has a physical or mental illness when the person's not really sick. In this case, it was her mother, Dee Blanchard, that faked and induced the illnesses in her daughter. After years of this abuse, Gypsy one day had her boyfriend that she met online come to their house and help her murder her mother. He came over, stabbed Dee while Gypsy hid in the bathroom, covering her ears. In 2016, Gypsy pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison thereafter. Though Gypsy's story was a very extreme and unfortunate example of faking illnesses, we should still avoid making light of these illnesses, especially mental illness, in even the smallest of ways. Mental illness is sometimes viewed as something that's tragically beautiful, and this is largely due to its popularization, normalization, and romanticization in mass media, such as music, literature, and film, misinterpreting mental illness as glamorous and theatrical. The show 13 Reasons Why is probably the biggest example I can think of. And I'm going to give a trigger warning as I'm going to be mentioning bullying and suicide throughout this explanation. So I encourage all those who may struggle with hearing about these topics to please skip to this point in the video. This book, God, airplane. This book turned Netflix series follows the aftermath of the suicide of Hannah Baker. 13 tapes were found after her death, all addressed to 13 people who she blames for her death. And to make the long story short, the show/book has been criticized for glorifying suicide. There were many unnecessary triggering scenes presented in this show, including Hannah's own suicide. This particular scene was condemned by the US National Alliance on Mental Illness, who, and I quote, said, "for exploiting a topic this sensitive for entertainment purposes," end of quote. Following the release of 13 Reasons Why, there were between 900,000 and 1,500,000 more suicide-related searches than expected during the 19 days following the series' release. And you may be thinking that, chill out dude, like, they're harmless Google searching. But in fact, they're not. Studies have shown that suicide-related Google searches correlate with actual suicides. I'm sorry, even for me the topic's a bit scary and sad to talk about. Okay, now moving on. The people who bullied Hannah were depicted to regret their actions and mourn for her. This is so dangerous, actually. It sends out the message that if you off yourself, it's only then that those who bully you will regret their actions. Whenever the plot or characters consist of mental illness elements, one of the difficulties is to create a good mental health narrative to balance realism and romanticization. For example, if the narrative is overly romanticized, the impact of a character's mental illnesses may end up not being important or lacks influence in the story. However, if the author attempts to focus on realism, they may unintentionally portray mental illnesses as troublesome or miserable to be with. Even non-fictional media plays a role in all of this. Studies have shown that when the news offers sensationalized stories of suicide or reports attempts in great detail, suicide rates actually increase. And surprisingly, the evidence is stronger for the influence of real reports or news media than in any fictional format. So, even a few seconds of TikTok, being a typically reality-based platform, can have an immense influence over its own viewers. Surely this effect is not limited to suicide. Media holds so much power over how you perceive and approach mental illness as a whole. The last thing we should be doing is contributing to the misinformation and stigma surrounding it. With all of the false information, romanticization, and clout chasers out there, it's become so hard to talk about mental health online without being judged or taken as a joke. The sheer effort it takes to be open about your mental health is crippling as is. This new phenomenon just made it so much harder. It's very rampant now, but that's why real mental health awareness is so important. Mental health issues aren't all in your head. They aren't romantic, but neither are they the end of the world. They are a struggle in life like any other, and they shouldn't be disrespected for personal gain. With that, that's the end of the video. Please comment any topic you'd like for us to tackle next. Today was a bit darker than normal, so I apologize for that, especially when I'm talking about TikTok of all things. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I had to download TikTok for this video, man. Please give me something like to make it all worth it. And I just have to say thank you all for watching. You should please take care of yourselves and watch out for anyone that tries to put you in a box. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I hope you all have a great day.